All right, so a couple pieces of Yankee intel that I'm picking up on that I want to share with you, and then we're going to go over the AL East needs for the trade deadline. Yeah, saving the best for last. Okay, let's do the intel first, and obviously, if anything else pops out, you know you're going to get it here. So please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. I don't want you missing any good stuff because it's getting closer and closer and closer to the trade deadline, August 2nd. And I'll be live that day to give live feeds on everything. So now, intel. It seems as if the intel saying that the Yankees are really honing in now on the guys that they're looking to target at the trade deadline. Two of them are Luis Castillo, starting pitcher from the Cincinnati Reds, and Brian Reynolds, star center fielder from the Pittsburgh Pirates. There are other guys that are available, and I'm sure the Yankees are going to investigate all areas, but those seem to be, right now, the two that they're really looking forward to trying to acquire at the deadline. There's no guarantee they're going to, because it's going to be a pretty hefty bidding war for their services, but I'm also hearing that the Cincinnati Reds are interested in, they're going to ask most likely Anthony Volpe as part of a return for Luis Castillo. My guess is they're going to wind up settling for Oswald Peraza and a couple other players. And for a year and a half of Luis Castillo, that's a justifiable return. It's probably going to include Oswald Peraza and not Anthony Volpe. So, and again, this is they have crazy depth at the shortstop position. When you want to acquire somebody that you need, you address those holes by dealing from depth. And yes, Oswald Peraza is the most close to the major league ready prospects in the Yankees. There's some other guys that aren't that far behind. And he's also played multiple positions, so he's going to increase his versatility. I don't think he'll be the second baseman in Cincinnati if he ever gets traded there because of Jonathan India, but shortstop's definitely a possibility. But that's what I'm hearing that the Reds are focusing on, at the very least in terms of starting package return in a trade. Now moving over to Brian Reynolds, that's obviously going to cost a bunch too, and more so than obviously Luis Castillo. But there's any way the Yankees can get both of them. And that to me that's a pretty hefty deadline right there, acquisition. I think the Yankees will be pretty much all set without even have to dip into the relief pitchers market if they don't want to because of the other guys that they brought in recently. Remember Shane Green, they brought him back, Jimmy Cordero, okay, and then they recently got Richard Rodriguez. So there's some depth there. And there's some other guys that they can utilize, some long relief, which I think they're going to need to do because of innings limits that are going to be, imposed upon Nestor Cortez and at the very least Luis Castillo, and they may even tail back on Jameson's Town workload because of the seeing some regression now from him. So things to keep in mind. But these seem to be the two most prominent targets. There are other guys that they're going to investigate everything. Do I think they're going to get both of them? Unlikely, but I'm not ruling anything out. They can also get other guys. And I've mentioned a bunch of trade deadline targets. I'll be doing my trade deadline predictions video as well that I'm working on. I'm still adding to that list too because that's going to be a good video. You're not going to want to miss that one. And then we'll see how it compares to the actual trade deadline. And I've done my early trade deadline predictions. This one's going to be different because of how teams have evolved since then or regressed and what they've done and how well teams that we didn't think would play well are playing phenomenally and vice versa. So it's going to be really interesting next couple of weeks. It really is. But let's talk about the AL East. So the Baltimore Orioles are actually showing signs of life here, playing pretty decent. So I still think they're going to move trade Mancini probably for prospects and then use some of these prospects to build around guys, like Cedric Mullins and some of their other young guys, Adley Rushman. So, and they may even move like somebody like Anthony Santander and get some prospect depth back to build around these guys because I don't see them as a contender just yet. So to me, starting pitching is a definitely identifiable need for them, and maybe getting some prospect depth for some veteran players. Would hate to see Trey Mancini go because of the story he has in his background, but he could be a contributor to a lot of teams, even teams like the Giants or somebody like that who can use an offensive player. I think he'll get an opportunity somewhere. I do think he'll get moved. Moving over to Boston, I think the bullpen is. Maybe even starting pitching after we've seen Chris Sale implode and destroy everything at the after getting torched by the Yankees AAA team and getting pulled from the game. He went nuts the other day. It's fantastic. But I could also see them, bringing back somebody like Daniel Bard, who's the Rockies closer right now, and he's a power arm, he's a big arm, and he kind of has his mojo back. I could see them bringing in somebody like that, and I still think adding a starting pitcher would be wise. And we still don't know yet whether they're going to be moving any of their position players like Bogarts. I just don't know yet, because I think the fact that they played better recently over the last month and a half probably shows they're going to try and keep these guys and try to make a run. But who knows? Who knows? Moving over to Toronto, I mean, a high-powered team also, but they still have needs. Starting pitcher, I mean, they lost Ryu until pretty much 2024, and because of Tommy John, and Kikuchi's struggling too. So adding a reliable starter, they're going to be in the Luis Castillo market. They're going to be in the Frankie Montas market, and whoever else might be available. There's a couple other players that might be available too, and we just don't know. But a starting pitcher, a reliever would also be a wise idea for the Blue Jays to add to what they have. And maybe a bat of some sort, some kind of person who could play multiple positions like a utility. And we don't know if Ketel Marte or something like that's available. Brandon Drury, bring him back to the Toronto could be an option too. He's with Cincinnati now. He's another guy that might get moved by the Reds. So we'll see. But I think another bat to kind of complement that line, just as a complementary piece to some of their other big bats, would be a good idea to take some of the pressure off these guys. So Tampa Bay bullpen, I would be adding a reliever and an outfield bat. This one's interesting because there's a good chance, and I'm hearing a lot of rumors that they want to move Kevin Kiermaier. He'll be a contributor to a lot of playoff contending teams, but who are they going to replace him with? There's some guys that they could get, I'm guessing, from the outfield and whatnot, but a guy like Anthony Santana would be good there, but I don't know if they're going to trade within the division. And I do see Santana having a good chance of being moved as well by the Orioles. And adding another bat there and a reliever to kind of add to the stable of guys that they already have. And they're kind of in a reshuffling mode too. They haven't been as good as I thought they were going to be this year. But again, it's still mid-season, so I'm not ruling out anything. But if they bring in another reliever and a depth bat of some degree, I think they'll be okay. And obviously, last but not least, our New York Yankees. To me, a starter, a reliever, and a lefty bat for the outfield who can hit righties well, particularly neutralize teams like Houston, who has an overwhelming majority of right-handers in their rotation and in their bullpen. So somebody like that, I think, would be a wise idea. Now, we don't know. I mean, obviously, Brian Reynolds is a perfect target if they get him. He's a switch hitter who can create lineup nightmares for pitchers. And then you put him at the top, and you can have DJ, their best contact hitter, at second, and then maneuver their way down a little bit more consistency in that lineup would be fantastic, because they're constantly rotating their top 5 players. And even though they've already been the first team to 60 wins, at some point, some more balance would be a good idea for the Yankees. And they definitely have the pieces to get them. They have the pieces to get at Castillo. They have pieces to get at both. Depends on if they have the appetite to give up what they're going to give up. Is the question, because both of them will be here beyond this year. And Brian Reynolds, he's not a free agent until 2026. After the 2025 season, he's a perfect fit. And getting controllable players instead of getting somebody really, really expensive in free agency is not a bad idea too. And to me, he just looks like he'd be great in pinstripes. He really, really would. And but those are the Yankees' needs. And again, they could have taken themselves out of the bullpen market at this point too. We just don't know yet, because of the guys that they brought in and the guys that they have coming back. Jonathan Loisaga, if he comes back healthy and productive, he'll be an addition. Domingo Germán, if he comes back healthy and productive, he'll be an addition. So or if he continues his progression, Domingo Germán. And we have guys, and Chapman's back now, and Zach Britton. We just don't know what to get from him or what to expect from him. But he could be another one. But he generally takes about a month to kind of get ramped up too. So that's why I think these longer rehab assignments would be a wise idea. So we're not wasting productivity or wasting other guys' productivity. Just to have somebody up here who's on a big contract just because he's on a big contract and he's not doing anything for the Yankees. I'd rather keep guys up here who, J.P. Sears of the world and some of these young kids. Hopefully Marinaccio comes back healthy too. But those are the guys I'd rather have up here instead of expensive guys who are just not. Well, they threw one game in a double in Double A and they're ready to go. Not for guys been out for over a year. No, thank you. No, thank you. So, but that's it. That's my needs for the AL East. Now we're gonna start getting into the nitty gritty. So a lot more fun stuff. But and Yankees news, obviously. I'll keep feeding you everything that comes in when it comes in, and get ready because it's gonna get hot over the next couple weeks. Talk to you later, guys.